Hey everybody, I'm sorry that you missed the meeting the other day, but I wanted to at least go through some of the things that we talked about and explain a lot of things that are happening in the industry because there's some things that are really changing rapidly and we need to talk about them. And I want to make this year your best year ever. So just a quick note, we had some great sales this year. Tejas finished 48th in Pennsylvania. For Century 21, Holly finished 68th. Great job, guys. And we had some big sales this year. Holly had, and I apologize in advance. I know I didn't go through every sale to look for everybody's highest sale, but I know Holly had a sale at 1.5 million. She also had two over 430,000. Tejas had a sale of 800,000, another one at 580. Wassel had a great one at 653. Jane Wachter had one at 660,000. Teresa at 580. Tim had two in the mid to upper 500s. Michelle had one over 500,000. Bill Regal had three of them all around 500. And Kathy Novak had one almost at 500. Carla had one at 480. Jesse had one at 412. So great year, some nice sales, and we want to keep that up, of course, this year. So today I want to talk a little bit about how we can make more money, but I want to apply that to the fact that things are changing in the environment. And particularly what's happening with the Zillow referral program and why we've even talked to them about it, and some changes that are really depressing with Realtor.com that I want to explain. Some quick things about Zap that you might be able to use to counter some of what's happening. I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in the marketplace, whether it's improving or whether you believe the news that says we passed the top, and a couple of quick updates on the agreement of sale from Harrisburg. So first of all, and if you've watched my other videos, I'm just starting to mention again, the first question everybody asks at the beginning of every year is, how do I make more money? And I've heard it said so many different ways. What's the old line by Albert Einstein? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We have to find a way to make more money and to help you to be more successful. And part of that is don't just think outside the box, but think like there's no box at all. There are no limits here in the real estate business. There's so much that you can do, so many deals you can do. Think about it that way. There are really only two ways, though, that you can make more money to grow your income. One is to generate more leads, to capture a better percentage of the leads that are out there. And there are a lot of people who buy and sell in eastern Pennsylvania. So generate more leads one way or another and capture more of those. And the second way is to convert a greater percentage of those prospects. And converting a greater percentage is doing a better job on the phone when they call in, is maintaining better contact with them so they buy from you instead of somebody else. It's doing a little bit better job on a listing presentation so you get the listing so somebody else doesn't. But really, those are the only two ways to grow income. Find a way to get more people in front of you or get yourself in front of more people, and then convert a better percentage of them. That's it. So that's part of what we're going to talk about. And there are only three ways that I can think of to go out and generate leads. You can go out and look for them, proactively prospect. You can phone call people. And by the way, we've got some very successful agents in the company that sit there all day long and make phone calls, and they make money. It works. Most of you don't want to do that. I understand that. Some of you go out and knock on doors. Some of you call expired listings and for sale by owners. That's proactively prospecting. Your time is what you're investing. The second way is to pay for business, and that's why we're going to talk a bit about Zillow today. And that's buying Zillow leads or paying referral fees to OpCity, which is now part of Realtor.com, and we'll talk about that. Or to pay for postcard mailers or to market yourself online. Lots of ways to do it, but it's all effectively paying to generate business for yourself. In the long run, the best way to do it is to build strong relationships, provide great service, build relationships with people, do some postings on Facebook, maybe some farming techniques, some social networking, and make sure people come to you. That's the best way in the long run. But the truth is, if you need a lead right now and you need a sale right now, you've got to look at whether you're going to do something like proactively prospect or whether you're going to pay for something like Zillow or OpCity or something else. And everybody's different. Some of you are very comfortable making phone calls to strangers, and that's fantastic. And by the way, that really works to generate business. But many of you are not. So in that case, are you okay paying for leads, spending money to do it? And that's something that a lot of us don't want to do or don't have the money to do. So you have to look at both options to get started. And then, of course, the alternative is to build relationships. And again, in the long run, that's what we're really all about. We want to build those relationships so that we can generate more business. So it kind of brings us back to, and part of that is joining groups like the Chamber of Commerce and LaTip and posting stuff on social media. But it brings us back to how do we generate those leads in the beginning to help us to build a relationship that will get those people to refer us to everybody. And by the way, if you haven't read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, this is about a 30-year-old book. It's still one of the best out there. I'd really take some time and read it. If you don't block off time to do the most important jobs that you have, and one of those important jobs is prospecting, if you don't block off that time, other stuff is going to get in the way because you're going to find reasons not to prospect if you don't set that time aside. And that's critically important in this industry. Once you get a lead, once you get somebody in front of you, please keep in mind that 9 out of 10, actually probably closer to 19 out of 20, leads are not going to buy from you tomorrow. You have to cultivate those leads over time. You have to incubate those leads. So you have to put them in some CRM, some contact relationship management software, whether you're using Business Builder on 21 Online, which is free, and plugging them into an automated system and then maintaining contact, a tickler system, whether you're using Zap to maintain contact with them, or whether you subscribe to something like Top Producer or another system. You have to stay in front of them. You've got to build that relationship and stay in front of them and be persistent so that you're there at the right time so that they buy from you. And different types of leads may require different follow-up systems. And we do have a number of them already built in both Zap and in Business Builder. So just to keep that in mind. One of the things you can do beginning this year the right way is go back into your Zap account. And I'm always surprised at how many of you will come up to me and say, I don't remember how to get my Zap account. Hey, I want to help you do that because, frankly, I want you to do well. And we open up the Zap account and we see 14 requests for information that were never handled. First thing you should do is click on your contacts because every time you get a lead router lead, every time you get a Zap lead, it goes into your Zap account. Start calling back through those people who didn't buy and ask them, are you still in the market? Are you thinking this year about buying? Because I will guarantee you, you will find somebody in there that might be a new buyer or seller that you might be able to pick up. So take some time and do that. new.myzap.com, new.myzap.com. You log in with the same username and password that you have with your 21 Online account. Now I want to segue back into talking about Zillow, how Zillow Premier Agents work. So this is from a site called Fit Small Business, Getting Your Business into Shape. And it's an interesting article from only 3 weeks ago, on whether or not Zillow leads are worth paying for. And I'm going to kind of go through the thought process and the problem. Zillow tells you that for every dollar you put into Zillow Premier Agent, you get about $2.60 back in commissions. That doesn't sound like a whole lot. But it is leads that you generate, that you pay for, that you get money back from when you sell them a property. Here's some quick cost per leads that we pulled up just last week on Zillow. And just trying to buy leads. We logged in, plugged this in. New Tripoli, Pennsylvania, it's $62 per lead to buy a lead. Orfield, $71 per lead. Schnecksville, $61 per lead. But this is where it gets interesting. West Allentown is almost $100 a lead for West Allentown. Now, Center City, Allentown is only $13 a lead. So if you want to buy Center City, Allentown, it's cheap right now. Whitehall's $83. Bethlehem Township, $121 per lead. And Macungie, $170 per lead. Just to get a lead. And by the way, we've had calls from other realtors that logged into Zillow and typed a quick message to try and find out about a property. And we pay for those leads when we're realtors paying for Zillow leads. It's really painful. And by the way, why this does not work for a company, the reason Zillow started selling this to agents instead of brokers is they found out very quickly that brokers can't afford to pay for this for agents. And let me explain it this way. The average realtor converts only 4% of calls. Zillow says we try and get you up to 5%, but the average realtor converts about 4% of calls. And by the way, if they're not paying for it, they're less likely to call someone back. So if you're paying an average of about $85 a lead, divided by 4%, that means it's $2,125 per sale to get a sale through Zillow. That's a lot of money. If you have a $120,000 sale at a 70% commission split, let's say as an example, the office sort of makes $883, and we paid $225 to get that. That $883, though, has to go to pay for the signs that you didn't bring back that cost us $100, the lockbox, keeping the lights on in the building, paying for a receptionist to answer the phone, paying for heat, property taxes, copiers, phones, internet lines, and so many other things. It's not a huge profit. So when you look at the office side, it can't work to pay for leads for Zillow. That's why they started working on this referral program. But here's the problem that we're dealing with right now in our industry, and it's really killing us as an industry. This is the home buyer and seller report from 2017. It actually is the 2016 numbers printed in 2017. And one of the interesting things, let me come back to this for a second. We have talked about this for many, many years, that between 1920 and 2016, about 64 to 67% of all sales that any realtor ever has is brought to you from one of three groups. The first one is your friends, family, sphere of influence. The second is your past clients reusing you. And the third one are referrals from your friends, family, and your sphere of influence and your past clients. That makes up about 2/3 of your business, or it did up until about 2 years ago. And it's been dwindling fast. And let me explain why. So this is the report from 2016. And even in 2016, it was already down to 42% referred and 11% past clients, or 53% total, which is kind of depressing. So 68% of buyers, by the way, interviewed only one real estate agent during their home search. So whether they were referred to you by Aunt Betty or whether they actually called you because they came through Zillow, they never called anybody else. They only talked to one. And that one person ended up picking up the lead. And by the way, unfortunately, or fortunately, half the population is now that Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, or more than half the population. And that's who's coming into the marketplace, and they don't want to talk to you. And what they're doing is they're online filling out that form and sending it to you, rather than talking to mom and dad and saying, hey, who would you trust to help me find a house? And because we're losing that demographic, because people aren't asking their parents and their family members for help, they're going right to do their own research online, and they see something exciting and they fill out a form quick, and then that lead gets sold to somebody. The percentage of sales that come through those traditional methods are dwindling, and it's becoming more of a problem, more pronounced. So let me give you a quick story. We had a realtor who worked for us for about 15 years. His son was also a realtor for about 10. So here's a guy who's been in real estate for a decade. He's been out for quite a while, but he was in real estate for a decade. He bought a house down the street from us. His dad worked for us for years and years. He called and said, Lauren, do you want to come over and list my house? I said, sure. So I stopped over and I said, where do you want to buy? And he said, you're going to kill me, Lauren. I'm so sorry, but this is the way it happened. He said, I always would have used you. I know the way real estate works. I was a realtor. So I'm sitting there on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm just glancing through Zillow, and I see a house. I want to move to Edgeboro in Bethlehem, and I see a house that looks interesting. So I click on the little box for more information, and I send out a note figuring somebody's going to send me the full listing. And I'm telling you, 30 seconds later, some guy calls and says he's from Zillow, and he has the listing agent on the phone. Incidentally, it turned out not to be the listing agent either. It's whoever paid the most for the lead. So the Zillow guy says, hang on one second, I'll conference him in. And the person on the other end said, hey, I'll be at that house in probably 2.5 hours. Do you want to stop by and take a quick walk through? So our client, our former realtor, somebody who's been in the business, says, sure, no problem. And he goes and he looks at the house. And he buys the house. and he buys it before ever talking to me. So here's the question. If somebody who's been in real estate for a long time and knows the business actually buys a house from somebody they didn't know because they were tweaked by an online property, isn't it possible we're losing other business as well? And that's the problem. Home buyers don't need to visit your website. More than 50% of home buyers age 50 and younger find the home they actually purchase by themselves on the internet. According to a recent in-depth survey, internet leads to real estate agents are up 300% over previous studies. Things are changing. And this article is from Inman News, which is the real estate resource, and it came out January 13th. Now, this is how home buyers are finding us. And this is kind of interesting and depressing. Up here, the group that used to be the referrals that we used to get is really small compared to what it used to be. And because of that, we're totaling in at about 44-45% of our leads coming to us from family, friends, past clients, and referrals from them, where it used to be much higher. The second highest source of leads right now are online leads. Are online leads, and that's where we're losing them. 29% for millennials, 27% for Gen X. They're no longer calling their family, their friends, their sphere of influence to find somebody to work with. They're finding a realtor online. And we're losing that portion of the business where it didn't used to happen. So Zillow is testing something where they're getting into the referral business. They've been selling leads at a crazy amount of money. And most realtors can't afford it. They opened up in parts of Florida and in Las Vegas and a couple of other areas a pilot program where they charge a 35% referral fee. And it's a lot. Please don't misunderstand me. A 35% referral fee for any lead that they send you through this referral program. And here's the way they're setting it up. They split a certain number of leads they'll still sell to whoever's buying the zip codes. And then a certain percentage of leads they're going to hold back and they're going to sell to agents at a referral fee. I actually talked to them about something completely different and asked when they were going to open it in this area. So we're actually the first ones to be buying this in this area or buying into this in this area. And you do not have to participate. The leads go directly to you. They have nothing to do with us. They don't come through us. But the idea is that at least you're not paying up front for them. You're paying on the back end, but you're paying dearly. It's a lot of money. Now keep in mind, Zillow was first Travelocity. And when they were Travelocity, when they cornered the entire travel market, they got between the consumer and the hotels. So you didn't go any longer to daysin.com or hilton.com or marriott.com. You went to travelocity.com, and then you would buy a hotel room, and this internet company would take a piece of every hotel room's room night in the entire country. Now they're doing it to us as Zillow. At least in the travel industry, more competition appeared, but it never righted itself because everybody continues to pay a large percentage of their hotel room nights to these online companies. Now, the way this program works, you have to do some training if you want to participate. We did sign up as a company. There's no upfront cost for you as long as I'm a premier broker, which is costing me a fortune. But you would pay a 35% referral fee off the top on any lead sent through the program to participating agents. What that means is it needs to be on the settlement sheet that Zillow's being paid, because otherwise we're going to get caught with a lot of other fees. So it has to be on the referral fee on the settlement sheet. Zillow picks the agent based on how active they appear to be in a particular area. So if you happen to be very active in Honesdale or in Macungie or in Lehighton, Zillow is going to select you based on that and push some leads to you. They're also going to rank you at what percentage you close and how quickly you respond, and they're going to defer to the agents who do better. So if we don't participate, it's not like Zillow's going to fold up. They're just going to sell them to Remax or somebody else, Coldwell Banker. That's what they'll end up doing with those leads. So again, you don't have to worry about participating if you don't want to, but it is something that will hopefully bring you more business. And again, if we mess up and we forget to pay a referral fee, they will hit us with a $500 penalty, which incidentally the agent's going to be responsible for. And you'll still owe them back the 35%. They have an ironclad contract to do that. And they will catch you because they track every sale with smart software, and they see every buyer who settles on a property as they settle. So they will know and that they've been missed. One of the other things that's happening with Zillow right now is they've bought out Mortgage Lenders of America, and they're now trying to corner the mortgage market. So as people call them or as people come in as leads, they have their group going and following up and trying to sell mortgages as well. They're trying to corner every market they can. Now, one way we have to get around this is we've got to tell everybody we know, every friend, every relative, everybody we know, hey, listen, Zillow, if you actually fill out one of those forms, A, you're not getting information from the listing agent. You're getting information from the highest bidder. And B, Zillow is going to sell your information everywhere. So in the long run, we've got to find ways to compete with this. And not just us, every real estate company in the industry. But in the short term, we have to figure out how we can take advantage of this and maybe get ahead of the curve. Because frankly, Zillow might partner with 10 companies in a region or 15 companies in a region. I'd rather be one of the ones they're sending leads to than one of the ones they're taking leads from to sell to somebody else. And that was kind of our goal with this. Now, one other thing I want to mention because it's critically important. Realtor.com was sold. It was sold to News Corp. That's the Wall Street Journal. And because of that, they bought OpCity, and they're doing exactly the same thing. We've gone back and forth and round with Realtor.com because it's no longer the Realtor's site. What they want now is a 20 to 25% referral fee from each agent, and they're going to start sending leads with this referral fee attached. On top of that, again, to be a premier broker with Realtor.com, they want a crazy amount of money. It's about 3.5 times what we were spending last year on the same site. So we're debating what to do with that, and we're negotiating with them. But at the moment, they're going to be doing the same thing. So we're getting hit from every side. So again, we've got to find a way to effectively compete with them. And there are articles all over the place. Hey, Realtor.com just got better at lead conversion. And the reason they say that is because OpCity, just like Zillow, calls the client instantly. They usually catch the client on the phone at the time that client is looking at something online and tries to pick them up as a client right away. They also have a follow-up system. OpCity follows up with these people to see how you're doing with them. And OpCity has, Realtor.com/OpCity has the ability to take a client away from you and give it to somebody else. Now, keep in mind, in December, we sold, I think 8 closings with OpCity. So we are getting leads that are closing, and it works. But it's painful because, again, we're paying for leads that we didn't used to pay for. So I want to introduce one other quick thought. There's a Century 21 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, that has quadrupled production in the last 3 years. They're just going absolutely crazy. And they're doing two things that are pretty interesting. One is that they have their entire team, they replace their walls with glass walls inside. And they have half their agents cold calling a lot. Now, I know a lot of you don't want to do that, but that's what they're doing. And by the way, if you do want to do that, I'll create a system for you to cold call and a way for you to do it. But the second thing they're doing is building a database of every single homeowner in their region. They've got 100,000 homeowners listed in their database now. And they've gone to Zap, and they've put in their version of Zap, and they've put in what we call a home value update, and people love it. Let me explain what it is. What it does is it actually, when somebody buys a house, they move in, they want to know how they're doing. Did the market go up? What are houses selling for in my neighborhood? Hey, a house down the street just went on the market. I wonder what it's worth, or I wonder what they're asking. I'm going to look it up on Zillow. What Zap Home Values does, when you go in and sell a house, immediately put your client on a home value update, and every time a new listing or a new sale happens in their neighborhood, they get an email alert from you with your picture on it saying a new house just came on the market in your neighborhood, here's the price, or a house just sold in your neighborhood, here's what it sold for. People love it. They go crazy about it. Now, what this company in Myrtle Beach did was they actually put everybody on it, but they went through and tried to get every person in town and started sending them updates on their houses in their area. Great idea. I think it's wonderful. The way you do it's pretty simple. You go into new.myzap.com. You click Add at the top of the screen. Click on New Contact. Plug in the person, whatever their name is and their email address. Just quick put in their name. And then click on Sign in as Contact. And by the way, you can play this back a couple of times. Pull down the More button. We've put a new contact in, typed in their name and email address. Click Sign in as Contact. On the next screen, you type in the address of the person. When you type in the address, it probably shouldn't be for sale. It'll say off market up here, and that's great. So when it says off market, down here at the bottom, it says Get Home Value Updates. Click on that. That's all it takes. It's going to start sending them home value updates on their property, anything in the neighborhood that's sold or gone on the market, and keeps them informed. They love it. They don't unsubscribe from it. And by the way, when they go to start searching for houses, they're more likely to click on this and start searching through your Zap site than they are to search through Zillow or something else, which is phenomenal. And by the way, one last thing on Zap. Remember that you can always set up a search in Zap, just like you do in the multi-list. Put their name in, their email address in, and put them on an action plan so that you're sending them some information regularly. And there are some action plans in there. And the other thing to do is to run a search in the Zap system just like you do in the multi-list so that listings are going to them rather than them going out to Zillow or even Realtor.com, unfortunately, these days and looking for properties. So, talked about Zillow, talked about Realtor.com. I do want to talk a little bit about what's happening in the marketplace. So, how is the market doing? Where's it going? Where's it going to be this year? And I always start by kind of saying that we do go through 4 phases in real estate, and I've been through 3 complete market cycles. There's always that recovery when things are starting to come back. There's the expansion phase where vacancy starts declining and new construction starts popping up. And then people get a little crazy. They pay too much, there's hyper supply, there's an increase in vacancy because new construction goes wild, and we overbuild and we go into a recession. Now, in this case, I don't think we're there yet, but a lot of odd things are happening in the marketplace. So if you've seen some of the articles and news blurbs over the last 3 or 4 months, they sound terrible. New home sales plunge to new 2-year low as the housing picture deteriorates. Stock market plunges. Wall Street volatility is back with a vengeance. U.S. existing home sales fall to the lowest point since 2015. And Bank of America downgrades homebuilder stocks as Wall Street grows increasingly bearish on housing. Now keep in mind, a lot of the press does not like the current administration and they want to make it look as bad as possible and as bleak as possible. That's one thing you have to watch in the back of your mind. But I want to show you a couple of things. And this was an article last week in the morning call. I'm actually quoted in it a couple of times. Housing sales in Lehigh Valley were dismal in December. So if you look at the charts that are happening across the country right now, it shows that even though the market has been all over the place in the last 2.5 years, we dropped to a pretty low point at the end of 2018 nationally. But that's looking at the market from 2016 on. If you actually take it back to 2009, after the market crashed, we continue doing better and better and better. And in fact, right before that point that they're using as an indication showing how low we are in comparison, there was a worse time a month before that they're ignoring when they start their bar graph here. And if you look all the way back to 2009, we've been steadily increasing, and we keep coming down to low points, and that keeps coming up, and we have some corrections, and it goes up, and it's doing well overall. In fact, if you look at the same numbers on the stock market, it shows that, oh no, we're falling terribly, the world is ending, blah, 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 from 2016 to now. But if you actually look at over a broader period, again, 2009 to now, again, it's been improving consistently over time with a few corrections here and there, but overall, we're doing pretty well. So right now, we've got job additions for 8 straight years. Unemployment rate is ridiculously low. Now, of course, I take issue with a lot of the unemployment rate information because, frankly, I don't think they count everybody. But unemployment rate is low. There are record high job openings. There's historically low jobless claims. That is good. There's a higher net worth for the average family. and wages are improving. So all those are good things. And even if you look at the market right now and you look at existing home sales, even in 2017 and 2018, we still have not hit those numbers that were happening across the country in 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7. We're not there. So we're looking at a fact that it's been slowly and steadily improving, and hopefully we'll keep doing that, despite some setbacks over the last 3 or 4 months. And there are some reasons for that. So let's talk about the state of the Lehigh Valley economy. And by the way, one of the reasons we've seen some retrenching the last 3 or 4 months is because the Fed raised the interest rates. I know we tried to stop that from happening, but Fed raised the interest rates, which made it slightly less affordable. Keep in mind, at a 4% interest rate, a $1,000 payment going up from 4 to 5, even though it's only a 1% bump, it's a 25% increase over 4%. So from 4 to 5%, that $1,000 a month payment becomes $1,250. That bumps a lot of people out of the market. You've got that happening, and at the same time, you've got very, very little new construction, and part of that is because there's so much regulation in new construction. It's still very expensive to build because there's so many additions you have to put into new construction these days that it's still cheaper to buy existing. That's one of the reasons you don't see a lot of home builders coming into the market. And the second thing is there's not a lot of, it's not easy to get a development approved. It takes, in some cases, 1.5 years to get an approval on a subdivision. So it's been slow for that new construction to come back, and that's partially driving prices up and keeping inventory low, which is hurting home sales overall. So if you look at the Lehigh Valley market from 2017 to 2018, the sales were off slightly by 0.6%. That's depressing, but the downside is, if you can look over in the right-hand corner here, where we really lost ground was the last 3 months of the year. December, it was off 17.3% from the December before. That's where most of the loss happened in this last quarter, because you can see overall it wasn't doing too badly. But if you look at historical closed sales per month, even as decent as our market has been, take a look at the peak in 2018. We're up here at about 920 and 950 sales. Now look back here to 2005 and 2006. Again, that was the last peak in the market, and we have not hit that peak yet. In fact, the average or median home price finally passed the median home price from 2006 about 3 months ago. So it took, for the median home price that fell all the way from 2006 to 2012, it took 12 years to come back up to the level that it was at in 2006. And there's been inflation and increases in the economy all that time, and it still took 12 years to rebound to the 2006 numbers and average sales price. Now that's Lehigh Valley. Pocono still has not hit the average and median sales price from 2006, but it's getting better. It's slowly increasing. The average sales price is up 5.2%, despite the fact the sales are down a little bit, because there's still heavy demand. And again, historic average sales price per month is still just on that cusp of where the peak was. It's not really there in a lot of areas. But remember, a 1% rise in interest rate equals a 10% reduction in purchasing power. There are fewer people coming into the market at a higher rate. So that's my quick note on the market. I have pointed out to a lot of people, we have set up a partnership with what was Century 21 Alliance's insurance company. They're a partner of ours. They're a partner of several Century 21s. They're going to be doing insurance through our company, which is a benefit in a lot of ways. They write insurance to over 200 companies. So they have the best rates of anybody that I've ever seen. We ask them for a quote, and they actually run a spreadsheet that shows what you would pay with Allstate, State Farm, whoever, and what the best rate might be and where it can go. So great company to work with. We're proud to be working with them. So anything we can do to help them, I'm trying to, because I think it really works. And last thing, Tim was in Harrisburg again a week and a half ago. He is one of the state directors of the real estate, not the Real Estate Commission, of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. They did vote on the new agreements of sale. There's some things that he disagrees with them on. One of the things he strongly disagrees on is the fact that the new agreement of sale says that if the house has been vacant a certain period of time, The seller must allow a hydraulic load test. We have no control over that. It's something that the state is pushing through. The other thing he did point out is they have a vote that's happening. The State Real Estate Commission is going to require any team leader. So if you have a team and you call it the Bill group or the Ted group or whatever you want to call it, and you've got people working under you, you're going to have a broker's license to be a team leader. Now, you've got a 2-year window to make that happen, but it's kind of interesting. They're pushing that to make sure that there's another layer of protection if you are teaching and bringing people into the business and training them and putting them on your team. They want you to be a broker as well. So that's our quickie version of the meeting. I hope it helps, and I look forward to talking to you.